From the moment that Fred VanVleet ended up signing with the Houston Rockets, leaving the Toronto Raptors on day one of free agency, most of the discourse surrounding this team, surrounding this offseason has involved what the heck is going to happen with Pascal Siakam. Will he end up getting traded? Will the Raptors give him a contract extension? Is the team going to build around Scottie Barnes and OG Anunoby, going more of a youth movement? And questions still remain, but we've had a report come out today that gives us some sort of insights in terms of where the Toronto Raptors are at, because we've heard some brutal reports, some brutal trade offers, potential returns for the Toronto Raptors top star. And personally, I think the report that came out today from Josh Lewenberg is good news, as it indicates that Pascal Siakam is likely, there's no real traction on any trades that have really been going down, even though there also isn't any discussions regarding a contract extension. So the Raptors are kind of in limbo here right now, but it doesn't seem like Masai Ujiri or any of the front office folks are pitching for the Toronto Raptors to accept some of these brutal packages we've seen from the likes of the Atlanta Hawks, Indiana Pacers, and these types of destinations. So we'll break it all down in this video because Josh Lewenberg gave some interesting insights. He went on Overdrive today and basically, audio show for TSN, and gave what he's been hearing amongst the Toronto Raptors front office, the people within the organization, and a lot of it is some of the stuff that we've heard recently, even though Mark Stein has come out and said the Raptors are still engaged in potential talks, deals that could go down. But basically, Lewenberg summarized to say, from his understanding, there's no real traction on any moves potentially happening with Pascal Siakam at the moment. So all the talks with the Atlanta Hawks that have been going on for the past month, the unfollowing the following Trae Young and Pascal Siakam back on Instagram, DeAndre Hunter deleting all his Instagram posts, the Raptors massage therapist going down to Atlanta, dropping dimes 20 coming out and saying it's a sure thing Pascal's going to Atlanta, right? Those don't seem to be the case. It doesn't seem like, at least from the Raptors beat reporters, that there's something locked in and we're waiting for a guy like Kobe Buffkin to be eligible to be traded. So that's something interesting. That's an interesting sort of insight there that we can write off any of the speculation that we've seen in recent weeks, especially outside of the reporters that have indicated, a potential move between the Hawks and the Raptors could go down. But personally, this is something I'm happy with. I'm excited about because I did not want to see Pascal Siakam traded for garbage. Not garbage. All NBA players are great. There's potential there in some of the players, the packages. Don't want to allude to Kobe Buffkin or DeAndre Hunter being trash, but relative to Pascal Siakam, they are not that level of player. But what this means for the Toronto Raptors now going forward, because Lewenberg also clarified and maintained that there still isn't progress on a contract extension as well. So basically, we've heard, right? The next week, the Toronto Raptors are going to pick a direction. Over the next few days, Toronto's going to decide whether or not they want to build around Scottie, OG Anunoby, or they want to, continue to win, try to make a push in the playoffs this upcoming season, right? Those are the dichotomy, the big decisions that Masai Ujiri had to make, and it doesn't make sense to keep pushing off the decision if you're going to be definitive about it. I mean, having OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, Gary Trent Jr. potentially leaving for nothing in free agency next offseason is a brutal risk to take, and a brutal future for the Toronto Raptors if we let those types of assets, that quality of players, walk for nothing. So personally, I've been on the bandwagon of we should extend Pascal Siakam. We should sort of go in that direction and bite the bullet and figure it out, right? Because if things aren't working out, then he's more appealing for a potential trade target, potential destination to acquire a guy that's on a longer-term deal. I mean, the reason we're getting such horrible packages from these types of teams like the Indiana Pacers, I know there was a report that's saying they wouldn't even get Andrew Nembhard. I don't know if that's officially, I haven't heard anything more on that in that regard. So, some brutal deals getting thrown Toronto's way, and Toronto just hasn't been that appetized by the packages, the open market with Pascal Siakam now. So if Siakam's open to an extension, lock him in now, because then you don't have to risk, if he's an all-NBA player come next season, you don't have to risk the potential of giving him a supermax contract. He's worth max money. Give him that type of deal. Run it back with the team, because you're not getting that much value for him, in the current sort of off-season potential trades going down. So if you give him that max contract, things don't work out, he's a more appetizing trade bait come next off-season, come the trade deadline, if you want to go in that younger direction. But even more so, Pascal Siakam is an elite basketball player. So it doesn't make sense that the Raptors aren't that engaged, aren't that interested in a contract extension, because Lewenberg also mentioned, again, it's something we've heard over and over, Pascal's interested in getting a max contract extension done, which Makes sense. There was a talk about how he didn't want to get the extension before because he wanted to hold out for a potential supermax. Pascal Siakam wants that type of deal. He's still in the prime of his career. He's only like 30 years old. So Pascal Siakam can be... He has years left of highly productive basketball. So we lock him in that contract. One, he can play on this team. He's not going to leave for nothing come next offseason. And two, if we do want to move on from him, it just makes more sense as a team to, have more years on the deal so you can get better returns. Teams like the Atlanta Hawks will be more willing to accept a superstar package or give up more assets if they have more guaranteed seasons with Pascal Siakam on their roster. So personally, I don't know why we're holding it out. I know we broke down yesterday how, again, the trade talks sort of fizzled out regarding OG Anunoby, or there wasn't really any interest from the Toronto Raptors front office in dealing him, from what they've gauged out there on the open market. So we know he's going to be getting big money. We know that Gary Trent Jr. is likely going to get a contract extension at some point. Poeltl just signed a big deal. Scotty Barnes is going to be in for some big money coming future seasons. And one guy that literally I've seen no one talk about has been Precious Achiuwa, who's also a free agent come at the end of next year. So there's a lot of guys the Toronto Raptors do have to pay, and we kind of need to figure it out. We can't just enter next offseason with hopes of, we'll just be able to sign everybody back and all that sort of stuff. Like, I've defended Masai Ujiri. People have been giving him a lot of flack for letting Kyle Lowry walk, or here's the one guy that we got something back for, but letting Kawhi walk, Danny Green walk, letting Serge Ibaka walk, letting Marc Gasol walk, letting a bunch of talent on this championship team we had in 2019, Fred VanVleet now this season walk. Like, those players, I think if you look at the context of the team, everything that's sort of going on with the organization, the talent that we had, what potential, young players we thought would potentially blossom, all these types of things. I haven't criticized Masai Ujiri that much. That, the narrative of him running with letting players walk for nothing, it's sort of been running about on the Twitters of the world. But if we let Pascal, OG Anunoby, Gary Trent Jr., two of those three players walk, if we let them go into free agency for nothing and risk the fact that they leave an unrestricted free agency and we don't bring anything back for them, that would be an insane fumble, a lucrative fumble by the Toronto Raptors front office, by Bobby Webster, by Masai Ujiri, by everyone that makes the decisions there. So, we have to figure something out. And I've been a proponent. I'm saying it's good news. We're not likely going to be dealing away Pascal Siakam, at least according to this current Josh Lewenberg report. But we got to figure out something. We have to choose a direction for this team, and we have to make sure we don't go into offseason with a bunch of free contracts, a bunch of top players potentially leaving for zero. So that's my take on it. That's the latest updates we've had regarding the situation. Again, we still don't know much about the Gary Trent Jr. extension. Right, we have some younger guys. We have a roster spot to fill, lots of two-way players. So the construction, there's still things left to be due from Masai Ujiri, even if we keep this roster as is intact. So let me know what you guys think about the current state of the Toronto Raptors roster. I mean, we're running it back basically with Dennis Schroeder replaced for Fred VanVleet and Grady Dick into the lineup knocking down some threes. And I guess a full offseason, a full training camp with Jakob Poeltl, a true center on the roster, and a new coach in Darko Rajakovic. So we'll see if that is game-changing for the Toronto Raptors, if we're going to be middle of the pack, if no types of moves go on. But regardless of how you feel about this roster, I think Masai Ujiri has to get to work on some extensions, have to discuss. And apparently Pascal's camp is open to it. So let me know what you guys think about all this Toronto Raptors news. You guys are the best to make it this far. Subscribe to the channel. Also, mention it this video. Got a new microphone, so the audio was quieter than the last one. I think it should be fixed here now, but let me know in the comment section if it's not. And people are roasting me in the comment section. Let them know I addressed it at the end of the video. But you guys are the best. I'm signing off. Cheers.